You're now tuned into
there we go.
the Not Your Average Podcast, episode number 25. We got a special guest in the building.
Very special.
Stay tuned to listen and see who it is.
Most dope.
A little throwback for you, Reid.
Put a thumb in the air.
Lil Mac Miller.
We were in high school when this came out? High school?
Yeah, I think so. Probably sophomore, junior year.
It says 11 years ago.
Yeah, dude.
I feel like $1,000,000, but my money don't really feel like I do. From the ground I built my own damn buzz.
46 million views
on this video.
On this video.
45 million of them had to be between like 2010, 2012.
100%. And most, I'd say 1 million is probably you.
Oh, absolutely. Mac Miller was the GOAT, man. We were already talking about it, but Mac Miller was the best.
Driving to the stage, they applaud and scream. All them pretty little girls come and flock to me. Yeah, I rack the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Crazy ass kids coming knock up on your door, so
God, he's so young, dude. R.I.P. Mac Miller.
Oh man, that was a sad day.
Gary, you got a beer?
I put an extra one there for me.
DJ!
Whoa.
Hit me!
Remix.
And I like my rhymes witty, all my dimes pretty. If you got weed, you can come fly with me. I don't take pity on them silly little hoes. Milli vanilli, but this is really how it goes. Mouth my words, don't say shit. Shh, shut up, bitch, and ride this dick. I'm just playing, let's have a ball. All we need is some weed, hoes, and alcohol. Hey, don't forget it when I'm wrecking the etiquette for the hell of it. Smelling it when the L's and I'm flying in a pelican. Young, fresh, but I'm so damn intelligent. Girls giving brains.
Shout out to the Iowa Craft Beer at the State Fair.
Yeah.
They're the providing sponsor of this episode.
Oh,
it doesn't even fit, dude.
How about talked into my mic? I thought it was a mic.
All right, you are now tuned into the Not Your Average Podcast. Like I said before, and I'll say it again for those that are watching and listening, episode number 25. We got a special guest in the building. Friend, old high school teammate. Fucking, I don't even know what to say now besides you, like, you're just grinding it out there. Everybody, I want to introduce Mr. Reid Sealby. He's in the house from Colorado, Gary.
Do I still have the applause button?
Oh, yeah, I can hear the applause in there.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Yeah, it's in there.
I'll turn it up.
Straight from the
There we go.
Straight from the mountains of Colorado, bro.
Yeah. You drove here this week.
Born in the Rockies. Not
There's
really
some
the
snow,
Rockies.
but you're used to the
but
snow.
living there now.
Yes.
You drove in, right?
Yeah.
Dude,
yeah.
I was kind of sketchy.
2 nights ago?
Yeah, I was kind of worried.
Oh, I was worried.
It wasn't sketchy until like the last 2 hours. It was pretty smooth most of the way, but the last like 2 hours, everyone was just started driving like idiots.
Was that
going
when you
40
hit
miles an hour?
When you hit Iowa?
Yeah,
That's
like
pretty-
north of Omaha, it started getting real sketchy.
Dude, I feel like Nebraska's, I mean, the snow is just blowing everywhere.
Yeah,
There's
it
no
was,
trees,
It was
dude.
pretty gusty, dude. Yeah, it's so flat. It was pretty gusty. Started getting a little sketchy, but we made it. Made it.
Someone once told me that the state bird for Nebraska was the tree.
What?
Yeah. Make that make sense.
The bird?
The state bird
Is
of
the
Nebraska
name of
was
the-
the tree.
I'm so confused right now. Is that like
I was that
is that like a
confused.
species of bird?
No, bro, they're talking about a tree, like a
Oh.
tree in
Oh.
Nebraska. And I was like, what
Oh.
the fuck are you talking about?
I think they're fucking with you, dude.
No, I know they were, but I'm
Oh.
just saying, like, who says that? The state tree of or the state bird of Nebraska was the tree?
Tree.
Nebraska
you know?
educational system at work.
Hey, we have we're gonna speak on that, and you at your time.
I got a dog on him a little bit.
Yeah.
Since we're in Iowa.
I got that written down to where we're gonna talk about your time spent in Nebraska.
Yeah, dude. I think I have a unique perspective on it because I spent time in both the Nebraska football and Iowa football buildings. You know,
Yeah.
not many people.
Is the
can say
hate really
that.
there?
Yeah, dude. And I've developed a theory about it, and I talked about it on that last podcast that I was on.
Yeah.
Is the hate is so strong because Nebraska and Iowa are the same state. They're huge agriculture states where there's not like most of the state is farmers and everything.
Yeah.
And what do they look forward to is like football season, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so when that's when that's everything that you care about, it there's a pretty intense rivalry, and your closest rival is going to be like your next door neighbor, the next state over, who thinks the exact same way about everything. So that's my theory, dude.
And they don't have a professional team.
Yes,
like the professional team is the college team.
Yeah, I talked about that too when I made that analogy last time. Is there's no pro team, so it's Hawkeyes and it's Huskers. There's the Cyclones too, but it's mostly Hawkeyes, Huskers, dude, and they just think the same way, and they're so alike. That's why they hate each other.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't know, like identical twins that just grow to hate each other.
They're so diehard too. I mean, they are just bleed
because
that's
colors.
It.
That's all you got.
You don't have a pro team. You don't have a baseball team. You don't have a. It's just that's it. Football versus.
I never noticed how that actually was, dude, until I moved to Iowa. Because like in Illinois, dude, we've always had trash teams.
Yeah,
like the Fighting Alliance.
There's no loyalty.
No, I didn't grow up being a University of Illinois
or
fan.
Northwestern.
Yeah, no. And then I come to Iowa. I go to Iowa State, dude, and I'm like just engulfed in the Iowa. Like I think it's because you go to school there.
Yeah,
right. You're there every day, but then like if you like sports and you like going to stuff like that, you really do sink into it because like we don't have another professional team.
Yeah.
Besides the Hawks and the Cyclones.
Yeah.
Right. And it's crazy because like the people that are Cyclone fans are just as diehard as they are, like it maybe even more as Hawkeyes.
Yeah.
Because there's less people that are Iowa State fans.
Oh yeah.
So in like all the sports. So it's more of like a
they're
grungy.
Anchored in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like fuck the Hawks.
Right.
Most likely. Not right now. But I'm just saying like it's more of like a you meet somebody that's a Hawks fan and you're immediately like, fuck the Hawks.
Yeah.
Immediately. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
But yeah, dude, I never noticed that until I moved into
everyone wants to be part of a tribe.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's the tribe.
And here there's no other tribe to join than like Hawkeyes or Cyclones.
Yeah.
You know?
I always made the joke when I was in school at Iowa State. I was like, you guys, 90% of your fan base never even went to the University of Iowa. Half of them are from Chicago.
Oh yeah.
Illinois.
Yeah.
Maybe like some small schools in Iowa.
You can that's definitely valid. You can say that about Iowa fans. Is half the school is Chicago suburbs.
Yeah, Chicago suburbs. And then like guys that are actually at Iowa State, they're all mostly from Iowa.
Yeah.
You know.
That's probably true.
Maybe that's why we were so bad for so long.
I don't know, man.
They're up on the rise a little bit. Well, now
some great high school athletes from Iowa.
This year was pretty bad for the Cyclones.
Football wise?
Yeah.
I didn't really I watched one Iowa State game. They got beat. I can't remember by who, but they lost.
Yeah, lost pretty bad.
But both Iowa games I went to this year, we got our shit kicked in too, so not good.
Yeah. For those that are listening or watching, Reid and I went to the same high school together. We grew up in the same town. We both went our ways. You went to the University of Iowa, was a D1 football player there, transferred eventually, and we'll get into that. But we won't really talk a whole lot about the high school stuff, just because, it's like just high school football, that kind of stuff. But we'll dive in a little bit into how you ended up at Iowa, your time there, transferring to a different school, and then all the other crazy stuff that you've done up until now. So
sure.
You got anything, Gary, that you want to?
I have a question.
Yeah.
There must be something in the water in Byron. Because, like, there's a lot of people doing some cool things from there.
We were talking about that on the way here.
Yeah.
Like, how do you like?
I'm looking back to my high school, and maybe I'm just not in touch with everybody as well, but I'm thinking about where's everybody at? Is there anybody that's doing something crazy that I could call up or anything like that? And there's not really.
No, dude. I don't know, man. I think it's like, I feel like what we're doing is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But, like, we're not to the level where, like, someone would be like, hey, dude, like, come and talk on our podcast or come, like, hang out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this is the first time I've seen Reid for a while, like 5 years, like 6 years.
Been a minute, dude.
But the cool thing about it is in those 5 or 6 years, dude, you've gone on to do some crazy shit that people normally don't do.
Yeah.
Right? And I think, like, with us being the Not Your Average podcast, that's another, like, essence of, like, why I wanted to talk to you and, like, let people hear what you had to say. Because it's dope, dude. Like, I was talking, when we did the Jamie interview, I was like, dude, you have to realize that, like, your career, you're with DraftKings, you work for the NBA, like, that's not normal.
Oh, it's
right?
insane.
And, like, I feel like in your bloodline, you guys have never been normal. Like, your dad, with all the things that he's done, and we'll get into that.
Yeah.
You're bound to do some stuff. You're not going to be just a Joe Schmo.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Very high expectations.
Very high expectations, exactly. So let's just kind of dive in, dude. How did you end up? I mean, I kind of know, right? But for the people that aren't listening or that are listening and don't know the story and don't know a whole lot about you, how did you end up at Iowa? Like, where was it a game that was recruited? Were you at a wrestling tournament? Like, just from the beginnings, dude, how did you feel when you got the call, or like, were you trying to decide where to go to school?
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff. Let's just see where it leads to.
Yeah, so
because I don't think I've ever actually asked you.
It all boils down to wrestling, dude.
It was wrestling.
You knew me in high school.
Yeah.
I was really more of a wrestler than a football player.
Yeah.
Our football teams were nothing that special until after I left, and then they started getting real good.
Yeah.
But in high school, wrestling was like really my main focus, and I wrestled year round. In the spring and then in the summer, I'd do the freestyle and the Greco stuff, and wasn't that good until kind of later on in high school. Was kind of a late bloomer, but going into our my senior year of high school, the year before my junior year, I'd placed 4th at 215 at state. And really wasn't on the heavyweight radar anywhere. At heavyweight, the guy was Mitch Kepi.
I remember Mitch Kepi. I know the name.
Yeah, so future teammate at Iowa. But
yeah.
Kepi had gotten second in the state finals twice at heavyweight, and was like the heavy favorite to win a state title as seniors. And in the off season, I made the move from 215 to heavyweight to kind of keep my options open. I didn't know yet if I wanted to. I knew I wanted to play sport in college. I didn't know if I wanted to wrestle or play football.
At that time, before you continued, were you trying to play D1 or wrestle D1?
Yeah,
that was in your
shooting for the stars, man, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I if you're gonna go play sport in college, you might as well try and play at the highest level that you're capable of, where you have an opportunity. If my ceiling was Division III, then I would have tried to go to the best Division III school I could. You know?
For sure.
But I wanted to see how I could hang with like the best out there doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, So I wanted to play at a big school. Most of my, I guess we're getting out of order here, but anyway, so Kepi was the guy, and in the off season, I moved from 215 to heavyweight, because I wanted to put some weight on in case I ended up playing college football. Being 6'4", I knew I'd end up on an offensive or defensive line. And so I wanted to keep my options open, moved up to heavyweight. First ran into Kepi at the Pit, the Princeton Invitational Tournament.
Dude, if you win the Pit, Gary, in our high school like wrestling like division, like our class, you pretty much win state.
Can you explain the Pit just a little bit?
The Pit is what town is it in? Princeton.
Yeah,
it's like this old high school. You walk in, it's got blue bleachers, and the bleachers are like super high up, so like everybody's watching you wrestle down.
Okay,
you're like bird's eye view.
That's why they call it the Pit.
Yeah, it's like the Pit, dude. And it's like literally like the best kids in our 1A.
They say it's like a preview of the state tournament.
Yeah,
okay,
1A. If you win it, you pretty much win.
The top like dozen teams in 1A all go to this tournament. It ended up working out where at that tournament, like the top 6 in my bracket at that tournament were the same top 6 at state in a little different order, but
same ones.
Yeah, it's kind of a preview of who's going to end up placing in Champaign. Yep. So ran into Kepi there for the first time.
How'd that go? How'd that first match go?
I beat him by a point. We were both undefeated going into it. And I beat him, I think 2-1. Like not the most exciting match. Not a lot of heavyweight matches are, but beat him like 2-1. And so this is how the Iowa connection happened. Is crazy, man. So there was an athletic training student at that tournament. She went to Princeton High School. She was back home on winter break. Watched that tournament, and she knew who Kepi was, because at the time Kepi was committed to go play football at Iowa.
Oh, okay, got you.
And he was I think he was the first commit in our class. And so when I beat him, she went back to Iowa City, and she was just like gossiping with the head football athletic trainer there, and was like, yeah, that Kepi kid who's supposed to be coming here, he actually, he's a big wrestling guy, and he just lost this weekend to some kid who hasn't committed anywhere yet.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, really? Like, wow. And I just through word of mouth, it went from her to the head athletic trainer to like an assistant coach or something. And it got up to like the coaches who were kind of recruiting our area.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, Sealby, he sent us some tapes like a while back, and we kind of shelved him.
Yeah, they just dusted you on the shelf.
Two-star
bro.
guy,
Yeah.
two-star guy from a not a good football team.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and but when I beat Mitch, they kind of took notice, and Coach Morgan, Reese Morgan, who was the offensive line coach at the time, came out to our high school and sat down with me and stuff. And he's like, hey, you're on our radar now. It's kind of late in the recruiting game. We don't have an offer for you right now, but you're on our radar. Like, keep doing things.
This was
we
during-
definitely have a walk-on spot for you. But
During wrestling season.
yeah, during
Okay.
wrestling season.
So you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. So I'm like,
gotta
all
show out.
right, yeah. And fast forward a little bit, and it was the night before signing day, and I'm in wrestling practice, and Coach Boyer,
yeah.
runs down to the wrestling room, and he like flags me down, pulls me out of practice, and he's like, and everyone after Sean Considine, everybody was Iowa fans in Byron,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
And Boyer followed it all and everything. And he told me, he's like, hey, I just saw this on, I don't know, Twitter or something. He's like, Iowa just had like a 4-star offensive line decommit and go to Auburn. So they opened up a scholarship. So, you know, there might be something for you.
Wow.
And I had spent all day that day telling everybody at lunch and everything, like, I'm like, hey, come to my signing tomorrow. I'm signing with Air Force.
I remember that, dude. We did it in the library.
Yeah,
I
dude.
remember that. Yeah.
But I was committed to Air Force. I had told, I'd taken like 2 weeks before, I'd taken a visit to the Air Force Academy, and I loved it, man. They do a great job with the recruits.
Really?
I mean, it's in Colorado Springs. They take you down on the field. They walk you through the visitors tunnel, and in the visitors tunnel, this is what really I thought was really cool. They have all these like, it says like, warning, you're playing at 5,200 feet above sea level. Like, it's going to be hard to breathe. All in the visitors tunnel,
Like
just
badass.
like a psychological tactic.
yeah.
I thought that was so cool as a high school kid, and they wine and dine you on all these recruiting trips, and I'm like, this is where I want to be. Like,
Yeah, for
playing
sure.
football in the mountains, you're at a military academy. I'd set myself up for life afterwards. You know.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, maybe it should have been the path I could have taken. But yeah, so I was committed to Air Force. Boyer pulled me out, told me this Iowa kid decommitted. And he's like, just keep your phone by you. Like, who knows? Like,
So you had no idea that when he came in, he was like, that's when you knew. Oh shit!
it was the night before signing
Yeah,
day. So
like-
I thought the next day I'm going to sign with Air Force, and that's going to be it.
Yeah.
And sure enough, like, get out of wrestling practice, and I get home, and at like 7:00 that night, I get a call, and it's Kirk Ferentz, and he's
head
like,
coach of the Hawkeyes.
yeah. And I talk about this on the other podcast too. I grew up in a wrestling household.
Yeah.
I could tell you like the top 6 placers at every weight class at NCAA tournament every year.
Yeah.
But I didn't watch a lot of college football, and so I didn't know who he was. He's like, I'm like, what school? He's like, hey, Reid, this is Kirk Ferentz. I'm like, "Hey, sorry, coach, what school? Like, Iowa. I've been here for like 2 decades.
Click.
Yeah. And so then I'm like, oh shit, all right. And he's like, hey, I just want, like, we want to make you a Hawkeye. Like, we want to offer you. And at the time, I just didn't understand like the magnitude of that.
So like I said, dude, we don't know that in
Yeah.
Illinois. You don't really know until you move.
Yeah. So I was real polite about it, and I'm like, hey, thanks, coach. Like, I appreciate the offer. You know, I'm thinking about a lot of different things right now, but I'll let you know, like, when you need to know by. And he's like, because of recruiting rules at the time, he's like, this can be my only phone call to you. So you have to call me back. We'd appreciate sooner rather than later. And
And this is a
and
head
let me
coach.
know.
Head
Yeah.
coach calling you.
And we're in the witching hour, like the last hour before like,
Back in the day where you had to fax your fucking commitment letter.
yeah, dude, it was crazy. So I get off the phone with him, and someone at Iowa must have called down to Sean Considine.
Yeah.
Because then, like 10 minutes after I get off the phone with KF, Sean calls me, and he's like, "Get your ass to my house right now. We gotta talk about this opportunity that you have."
Sean used,
Sean-
Sean used to play for the Hawkeyes. He used
Oh,
to be
okay.
what was he, a safety for the Hawks?
Yeah, Sean Considine, for context, is an all-time great at Iowa.
yeah, he's
and
good.
Complete success story. He walked on, became like an all Big Ten safety, drafted by the
Was it
I think the Eagles drafted him.
Yeah, I think it was the Eagles.
He spent some time with like the
Jaguars.
Jaguars, the Cardinals briefly.
Ended with
but
the
then
Ravens.
Ended winning a Super Bowl with the Ravens. He was
Yeah.
the special teams captain in that game. Like made some great plays. Like
Yep.
complete success story.
That's super cool.
How you want it to go is how it went.
Unbelievable.
For sure.
Wow.
Yeah, he played to his upper limit. You know what I mean?
for sure.
Got the most he could out of a career. And so he called me down to his house, and he started as a walk-on. He's like, "You have a scholarship. You're already a leg up on where I started at Iowa."
For sure.
He's like, "You would be crazy not to take this opportunity and to go to Air Force." And not that Air Force is a bad place to go, but it's just not the same level of football.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
knowing at the time I'm dreaming big. I want to play in the league one day. And Sean's like, "There's no better place than Iowa." And it's true. Like 90-something% of seniors who start at Iowa end up at least in like a mini camp. You know?
For sure.
So I'm like, all right, yeah, you make a valid point. Coach Miller was there, and both
Shout
of
out
his,
to Coach Miller.
Coach Miller is the
Dude, he's a
an
dog.
animal.
He's got
guy.
the dog in
Is
him.
he
dude.
a high school coach?
He's a defensive coach.
I love that
Dude,
guy.
and this dude, like
Old school.
old school's got
Tough.
if you could X-ray somebody
Yeah.
and not see their heart and just see like a dog in there,
Yeah.
it's him.
It's him.
He's the dog, dude.
Yeah. Tough old school guy. But both of his daughters had gone there, and I think they rode when they were there.
On the road team.
And so they were all just like, Iowa, man, like
Yeah.
do it,
Yep.
do it.
They knew.
They knew, man.
They knew.
And my dad knew too, but he didn't want to like tell me anyway. Like he didn't want to guide me, force anything on me. But he's like, dude, this is a really good opportunity.
He was at the he wrestled at the University of Missouri, right?
Yeah, he graduated from Missouri.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which is nuts.
yeah.
But he knew.
Yeah, so they all knew, and I was the only clueless one. I'm like, is Iowa a good school? I don't know. And so yeah. So long story short, called KF back, told him I'd come to Iowa.
How long did it
sign
take?
the next day?
How long did it take you to call back?
It was probably an hour later.
You were
'cause
like,
Sean lived right up the
"Fuck.
road, but
What do I do? All right, I'm doing it, coach.
it was.
Yeah.
I mean, well, the hardest part about it was calling the Air Force coach back, and because I was committed, I'd verbally committed. He's like, "We're stoked, man. We can't wait to get you out here, be a fighting Falcon." Blah blah blah. And they already had me penciled in like part of their class, and I call him back, and it's the night before, and they have everything figured out, and he's just like was devastated, and he hung up on me.
Oh, damn.
I can't remember his name. I probably shouldn't even say it, but
He hung up on
Man.
you.
but he hung up on me, man. And I'm like, well, that was not the most professional thing, but at the same time, I get it, dude. Like
Yeah.
I totally pulled the rug out on him.
Yeah.
You know.
How
But
does
you
how
gotta
does
look
that?
out for you though.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, 100%.
How do you? I guess not. How do you? But I don't know. I see the Air Force and the Army and the Navy play like once a year on TV.
Mm-hmm.
So like before we dive in more to the Iowa career that you had, like who do they play during the season and where do they play? Like they're on a military base, right? Are you
Yeah.
but it's like a full university.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's you leave there with a degree and everything, but you got to commission into the military afterwards.
Gotcha.
But your school's paid for while you're there. You just
Yeah.
have to. You owe a commitment to that branch of the military afterwards. So
How long is
it's
it?
not a bad deal.
4 years.
I think coming out of the academy, it's like 3.5 or 4, something like that. So, but it's not a bad gig, dude. You
How
get your
much?
school
How
totally
much
paid
football
for.
are you going? If you go there to play D1 football, how much football are you actually playing at the
It's
Air
a full
Force?
season.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know who they play.
I don't really know who they play here, dude. Everyone tunes into like the Army Navy game.
Yeah,
every
that's
year,
that's
but-
the only time I really see it on TV.
And I know Air Force played like CU Boulder out there and like Colorado State, I think. But Air Force is actually, they played in a bowl game yesterday. They were beating Baylor when I watched them, but yeah, they play a full season.
Damn, dude.
Wow.
I
They just don't get the same kind of recruits and
Yeah.
everything, so they're never going to be like big time. But
yeah, playing all the time.
When you're in there doing the Air Force thing, when you're like at college, are you studying business or whatever? Are you you are. Okay.
You don't have to do any military stuff.
I
till
thought you were
after
studying
graduate,
like
right?
to
No,
be
no,
in the Air
it's-
Force maybe.
Yeah, so I worked with a lot of guys in the Army who went to West Point and stuff, and you have a regular major, like anything else, business,
Okay.
finance, whatever. A lot of it's like political science and stuff like that, because your first career is going to be in the military, so you
Yeah,
want like
for
an
sure.
understanding of
Yeah.
the world and global affairs, I guess. So a lot of guys do like political science, something like that. But then you're playing your sport and you're doing like military stuff on top of that. Like a lot of times it's in the summer. They send you in the summertime to like basically a training camp to teach you like the fundamentals of what's going to happen when you're like a military officer someday.
Wow, dude.
Okay.
So it's a lot, but
Yeah.
for the most part, it's a pretty, you still get the same college experience, just with a lot of military stuff
A lot of stuff in the
injected
back.
into that.
Damn, dude.
but-
See, I always wondered how that worked. I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know if you had to study something like that they
Yeah,
were
like-
looking, or
yeah,
if it's
like
open
disabling
to
bombs or
anything.
something.
I mean,
I
you
don't
could
know.
do like liberal arts, you could do all that.
I don't know if they have all the same majors.
okay.
Like you might not be able to do like sports administration like I did.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
But yeah, I think it's a little more selective, but
Still
yeah,
a
it's
great opportunity for
it's a
Yeah,
good
dude.
gig, man.
Yeah,
you
that's
really
wild.
set yourself up well for life. Like if you go to a military academy.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Damn. All right, let's pivot back to the Hawkeyes
Yeah.
and your time there. All right, so you tell Coach Ferentz, I'm coming,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What comes after that? What happens after that? There's a little waiting period, right, till you graduate high school.
Yeah. So this would have been, when the hell is signing day? It just happened like
It
last
just-
week.
yeah, like
so,
this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like end of December.
Real quick before we get into this, you're signing for football, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were talking
Yeah.
about wrestling, and I
Yeah.
was like, kinda,
Wrestling was my in.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
But yeah, this is for football.
Gotcha.
But yeah. So where were we? So I signed with Iowa.
Yep.
Yep.
I like to always. I gotta say this again. If he ever watches this, but I said it on the first podcast, and I'll say it again. I got my offer before George Kittle did. So just put that on the record.
Shout out to Kittle. We'll get into this.
Because George is big time, highest
Yeah.
paid tight end in the league now.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, dude. We'll get
I'm
in there.
excited about that.
I love George, good dude, but I just always got to go on record and say that I got my scholarship offer before he did, because he was like the morning of signing day. I think he was going to go play
Wow.
I think he was going to either play football or basketball at like a D2 school in Oklahoma where he was
Yeah.
living at the time, and he got his offer right after I did. So
Dude, he really
On
kicked it
record.
off, though. Like, he
Twice.
is, like,
he's a
so
freak,
good.
man. Yeah,
So good.
we knew he was going to be a freak, man. He just he didn't necessarily catch as many balls at Iowa as he might have in a different program, and I think he was a little under the radar for that. I think he was a 5th round draft pick.
Yeah.
But he was always freakishly athletic, like from the jump. He like his freshman year, he came in and broke all the all-time tight end records, as in like the pro agility and the 40 and the vertical jump, just freakishly athletic.
Just a man-child.
Yeah. So we're like,
Damn.
if he gets in the right system where he can put this athleticism on display,
Yeah.
then he'll do really well.
Damn.
And Iowa taught him. I think what separates George from other tight ends in the NFL right now is George's blocking ability. Like, you look at Travis Kelce, who's an unbelievable receiving tight end, but I think George is more of a complete package.
Yeah.
George can run people over, dude, and and I think that's what makes him so valuable. Is he's a pretty good receiving tight end, like pretty good. He's great, but his blocking too. He's the
Dude.
total package tight end.
He had a hell of a game for that division clinch
Oh yeah.
with Purdy. Shout
Yeah,
out to the
dude.
Cyclones, by the way. I know
Yeah,
we're talking about the Hawkeyes.
You're probably
but-
stoked about Brock
Dude,
Purdy right
he's
now.
doing really well, man.
Dude,
like, we
everybody
witnessed
is.
we witnessed it while I was in school when he was the QB.
Yeah.
And we thought he was pretty, like, honestly, he's probably one of the best Iowa State has had in a long time.
Yeah.
Besides like Seneca Wallace, which is like, I don't even know when, 2000s or something. But to see him throw to Kittle
Yeah.
is nuts. And
Yeah.
like Kittle just like run people over into the end zone is ridiculous,
Yeah.
dude.
It's exciting.
That's dope.
Yeah, that is cool, man.
So you walk onto campus, right? You tell Kurt, "Hey, I'm coming." You go through the rest of the wrestling season. Now you're just lifting and stuff. You take me through like you walking onto campus the first day,
yeah.
like, or just like you're like, "Oh my God, I'm in the Big Ten right now." you know?
Yeah. So I was so naive, man, not having watched any college football growing up. I didn't understand anything. I was as green as you could possibly get.
Yeah.
I didn't know who like I remember walking in the locker room and all the seniors are like introducing themselves. Like, hey, welcome to Iowa, blah blah blah. Like James Vandenberg at the time was the starting quarterback. Hey, welcome to Iowa. I have no clue who he was. To me, he's just an average, like just another guy. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, thanks for having me. Like, I'm excited to be here and get to work. I didn't know anything, and like hadn't been any recruitment camps or anything. Didn't know anybody who'd played big time college football, at least in the last decade.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so was just totally clueless and just kind of fell in. with all the other freshmen, like doing freshman things.
Yeah.
And I talked about this on the other podcast too. Like if there's one thing I could go back and change, I would have started like copycatting the upperclassmen sooner. Like the guys who already had success on the field and were doing all the right things and had good habits and stuff. I think the best advice you could give a young guy coming into college is just like pick one of them.
Link up.
Pick one of those guys who's like doing everything right and seeing the field and starting and blah, 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 and just copy everything that they do.
Are the guys that are having success there, like in your eyes, right? You didn't link up with anybody. Are the people that are having success there willing to teach you and like take you under their wing?
Oh yeah,
they are.
Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very few and far between do you find someone who's super successful that's also like really selfish and doesn't want to give that back.
Yeah.
From my experience, at
Yeah,
least.
for sure.
Yeah.
All the guys who were great players like wanted to make the team better too and
Yeah.
wanted to help out the younger guys.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
Damn.
Yeah.
So you get there.
plenty of great mentors that I didn't tap into right away. And
Yeah.
if I could go back and change something, that's what it would be.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're sitting there. You're like, when's chow? Right. I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah.
So like, was there anybody there that you did like click with right away? Like
It was-
freshmen or?
Yeah, so I fell in with all the other freshmen right away, doing freshman things, man. Like none of us really expected to see the field super early on, so like most college freshmen, we spent a lot of time at the bars and like going out and like having a good time. And we did what we had to do for football, but at first we're all like, all right, we got a redshirt year, you know, we're going to get in the groove eventually, but for now let's just have fun.
You're here. You're in college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so kind of, I don't want to say threw away. We're still getting a lot better and kind of flattening that learning curve, but you know, partying a lot and just hanging out and having a good time.
Yeah.
And then, but somehow one way or another, by the end of my first year, I was kind of working in with like the second team offense. So I came in, I was recruited by that guy, Coach Morgan,
Yep.
Reese Morgan.
Yep.
And my first fall camp at Iowa, Coach Morgan switched from offensive line to defensive line, started coaching our D-line, and Brian Ferentz, Kirk's oldest son, came in to coach the offensive line. So right off the bat, they kind of gave me the choice. They're like, you can stay with Coach Morgan and play D-line starting out,
Yep.
or you can play O-line. We weren't sure where you'd fit in best. We kind of recruited you just as a lineman athlete is what
Yeah.
they called me
You
at
could
first.
Go both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I played both ways in high school, and they're like, we'll see where you fit in best. And at the time I had a little bit of intuition, and I'm like, all right, I'll start with Coach Morgan. He came and sought me out, like drove to Byron and found me, like I'm going to stick with him. And started out on the D-line and just wasn't, I don't think I had the quick twitch to like really excel at D-line at that level, man. Like just wasn't getting the jump off the ball, wasn't reading the snap quick enough, and just got steamrolled a lot. And
Put on ice skates.
playing against Iowa offensive linemen,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And
Reid used to put my ass on fucking ice skates in practice. His senior year. Yeah.
but it's 3A football in Illinois, man.
Yeah.
But
You also see the size of him, and he was bigger than this, dude. He lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
He was massive. You were like, how much were you weighing?
yeah, I did lose some weight.
In
high school or in college?
In high school.
In high school, I was
You're-
probably 240, 250.
But to us, that's big.
Yeah.
Dude. Like pretty
Yeah.
big.
yeah.
But
Especially like a stout
yeah,
230.
yeah. Reid was
240 or
huge,
whatever.
dude. So you're getting pushed around by the
So
offensive line.
and at the same time, the offensive line had a ton of injuries, and they were down to like 9 or 10 guys. Could barely field like a first team and a second team. So Coach Morgan like pulled me into his office one day. He's like, "Hey, if you want to move to the offensive line, you know, you could probably get some good quality reps right away. And it's early enough in your career, like you're not
Can
setting yourself back at all." Yeah.
Transition.
So I'm like, all right, if you think that's a smart thing to do, let's do it. And I moved over to O-line, and it was going well, and finished out that first camp getting some good reps. Went into spring ball, running with kind of splitting time between the second team and the third team.
What is that? Break that down for us before you continue. First, second, and third team.
Yeah, so there's really like 3 lineups that kind of cycle through in practice. Your first team is who's starting on Saturdays.
Yep.
Obviously. Your second team is like their immediate backups, who a lot of the second team guys were playing on like PAT, like field goal,
Just to
unit
get
and
out
stuff
there.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if someone got hurt, they're pulling right from that second team to replace those guys.
Okay.
And then your third team probably got like 20% of the snaps in practice. These are the guys who all just need a little more development, your freshmen and stuff. But and the third team practices against the first team and second team, like offenses and defenses on both sides to kind of, they're the scout team is the third team.
Okay.
Yep.
So spring ball of my second year, I'm working with the 2s and 3s. Going into that fall camp, I'm taking most of the 2s reps. And so I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot for my second year on campus.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'm like, if one guy gets hurt, I could see some playing time this year. And when they travel to away games, they travel the first team and the second team. So I'm like, I'll at least be traveling. I'll at least be going to these away games and getting the experience and all that stuff. So that second fall camp, the class behind me, it's their first fall camp, and it was the first class that Brian Ferentz, my offensive line coach, had gone out and recruited. So, I mean,
who was on there?
It's easy to draw a conclusion that like Brian may have showed some favoritism towards these guys. Like it's his first class.
Oh, true. For sure.
It's the guys that he went out and handpicked. I hate telling this story because I feel like I'm making excuses. No, they're all great dudes, and they all ended up playing. Every single one of them got into an NFL camp. Every single one of the guys in the class behind me.
Yeah.
Wow. So and a couple of them are still playing.
You're feeling confident though because like you're taking reps with the backup.
I'm a year ahead of them.
Yeah.
I'm playing with the 2s, and I'm like, all right, I'll travel. Everything's going good. And it wasn't until like the last week of that second fall camp that they started putting one of the true freshmen ahead of me in a lot of the reps. And
you're like, what?
His name was Sean Welsh. He ended up being my roommate.
Yeah.
I love that guy. Yeah. I saw him at a wedding this past summer. Sean's a great dude.
Yeah, but you were probably like, what the fuck?
But I'm like, shit, man. Like I'm losing the edge here. And then, but I thought, hey, I'd still taken like 75% of the 2s reps. I'll still travel. But first away game, I'm not traveling. They're taking Sean.
Damn.
And I'm like, shit, man, I kind of got passed over.
Yeah.
So I doubled down again like that off season and just nose to the grindstone and started getting after it again. And third fall camp, it's more lopsided. It's mostly Sean on the 2s and me taking some of the 3s in spring ball. And then in fall camp, I'm like all 3s. And I'm like, so I'm starting to slip back a little bit. But I'm like,
do you notice yourself like your mental stability? You're like, fuck, like I know I was just with the 2s.
Oh yeah.
I'm with the 3s. Like, what the fuck am I doing wrong?
Yeah, man. It's a and what was the most frustrating thing about it is I'm watching myself on film. You watch film of every practice that you do, and I'm watching I look at myself and I'm playing better. I'm getting better with every rep that I'm getting. But so is Sean, and so are the other guys behind me. And so I'm seeing that I'm making progress, but it's like it's not my choice to see,
for sure,
who's going to get on the field.
For sure.
And so long story short, I'm like, if I'm not with the 2s, I'm just going to I'm going to be on the 3s, and I'm going up against the first team defense.
You're going to rock out.
And I'm like, I got nothing to lose. I'm just going to go balls to the wall with the 3s against this first team defense every chance I get.
Yeah. You're going to be the 5-star of the 3s.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I'm like, if this is where I'm going to be, then I'm going to be the best at it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. And so I just I pissed a lot of people off, and I gotten. There's this kid, Jaleel Johnson, who's in my incoming class. He hated, we were really good friends off the field, but he hated me in practice because like I had nothing to lose. So I would go after the whistle, and I was finishing blocks on every single play.
You're just being grimy.
They're like, why? They're like, we're practicing, dude. You're supposed to give us a good look for the next team.
I am. This is what they're going to do to you, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm giving you a good look. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. I'm going above and beyond too. Cause I got to get mine still too, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And so just went super hard on the scout team, and it paid off. Or so I thought. It paid off. They gave out a scout team player of the week award every week for like who gave the best effort on scout team and who prepared the starters the best for the game that week. And in that season, and whoever got the most of those scout team player of the week awards every week was like the scout team player of the year at the end of the year banquet.
Yeah.
So that was my goal, man. I'm like, I'm aiming for that. If I'm not going to be playing, I'm going to be the scout team player of the year. And during the season, I got like 7 of those scout team player of the week awards.
Damn.
And and there was only one other offensive guy, this kid Tyler Wiegers, who'd gotten more than me. He got like 8. And but I knew in going into that offseason awards banquet, they gave out 2 of these defensive, 2 offensive, and 2 special teams Scout Team Player of the Awards every year.
So you're like, I
knew
this.
for a fact it was 2 offensive guys the year before. So I'm like, it's going to be me and Wiegers. We're going to get it. It's a little bit of validation for the hard work I'm putting in.
Yeah.
And then the coaches will see that, and they'll be like, okay, maybe we should give this guy some more reps next year. That was how I looked at it.
Yeah, for sure.
We get to the banquet, and they give out 2 special teams, 2 defense, and they just gave Wiegers 1 on offense. And I'm
You got shafted.
and dude, and I know I hate telling this story too, and I listened to that other podcast that I was on earlier this week, and I'm like, it sounds like a conspiracy, but I'm like, I know I'm due an award for this, man.
Wait, do you think it was because you were going extra hard, pissing people off, that they were just like,
I don't think that had anything to do with it. I don't know, man. I don't know what the reason is.
Yeah,
like,
you never know. You never know.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's wild, but you're expecting it. Like
I was
hey,
expecting
I
an
need
award.
Yeah.
And after that banquet, Coach Morgan went up to my parents and he said, "Hey, tell Reid congratulations, like on the award. Like he had a great year." And my parents are like, "He didn't get one."
Oh,
So that's another sign. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, man.
Huh.
I don't know what
Dang.
happened.
The
But
conspiracy.
I was super bitter, man. And because I was like, and other guys knew it too. People are like, "Hey, you had a great year, man. Like you worked your ass off."
Yeah.
So I was pretty frustrated, and I'm like, all right, well, it's time to take matters into my own hands. And I went and I asked Brian for a meeting to like see where I stood. And
This is an offensive coordinator.
he at the time was the offensive line coach.
Oh, line coach. Okay, yeah.
He's the OC now.
Oh, yeah.
And I walked in there, and Brian was like, "Hey, I know why you're here. You probably saw the most recent depth chart come out. They had just put out a depth chart after our bowl game that year, and I was on the 3rd team, and the guy on the 2nd team, I felt like was way behind me in development at the time, and I had kind of mentored him and got him up to speed with like our playbook and everything and
Yeah,
technique.
for sure.
So I'm like, this is just, I don't know. It's like if you taught somebody how to do your job and then they take your job.
Yeah.
And I was like, this isn't right.
Yeah,
And so that's why I felt the way I did. But Brian was just like very blunt about it. And he's like, at the rate that you're progressing and the rate the class behind you is progressing, I don't see you ever working your way into a starting job here.
Damn, straight up. That's
Straight
what he
up,
said.
dude.
Damn.
And
when he said that, what was your head at? Like, where was your head at?
I just wasn't ready to quit. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, then what? How do I pivot off of this?
Yeah, what do
You
I do now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the options in front of me, Brian kind of said I could transfer and they'd grant me, the freedom to go wherever I wanted to go and keep playing. Or Bobby Telford at the time, the Iowa wrestling heavyweight, he was in his senior year. He was going to graduate, and they hadn't yet signed Sam Stoll to be the next heavyweight.
Which was a fucking tank.
And I was a standout wrestler in high school, so Brian was like, you can go wrestle for the brands, and we'll honor your football scholarship.
Just keep it.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I thought that would have been sweet, but I was smart enough to know I was way behind the curve, and 3 years off a college wrestling mat, I would just get pummeled. I wouldn't get good enough quick enough.
Oh yeah. Was there a time though during your football career there that you did roll around the mat?
No,
You never got the chance to go there?
Never did,
Damn.
man. Never did.
I would have
But-
like picked the lock and like snuck in and like tried to roll around or something.
Oh yeah. I was friends with a bunch of the wrestlers, and that would have been fun. But
Yeah.
I would have got my ass kicked.
Dude,
man.
one
It's
of the-
just different in a
One of
college
the
wrestling room.
fondest memories that I have, dude. Me and Nick. Remember
Els?
that? Yeah.
Yeah.
We got tickets to the Penn State duel.
Oh yeah,
Dude. Garrett, I know you're like about wrestling, but
Yeah.
like Penn State and Iowa have always been like, well, for the last like 10 years. have
Tell
been-
Garrett about this. I'm gonna go pee real quick.
All right. They've been like super solid, dude.
Okay.
As a wrestling program, right?
Yeah.
And my friend Nick, which you haven't met, Nick Ellsbury, he's like one of my really good friends in high school. Played football with him, wrestled with him and stuff.
Okay.
He's like, bro, do you want to go watch this Penn State and Iowa duel, right? And like I knew that they were good, but I didn't really like just how Reid was talking about. Like we're in this little nook,
Yeah.
so we don't realize like the fan base that's behind
No.
Iowa,
Yeah.
or like the fan base that's behind like Penn State. Right?
Yeah.
And So I'm like, yeah, dude, whatever. Let's buy tickets, right? So we get tickets, dude. I think we got tickets in like the nosebleed, right?
Oh yeah.
And Reid was playing football at the University of Iowa.
Okay.
So Nick like messages or calls him once we get to Carver Hawkeye Arena.
Mm-hmm.
And have you ever been to Carver
No.
Hawkeye? So, dude, you walk in and it's like you walk in at like regular level, right?
Okay.
And then all of a sudden it's just a drop, dude. Like a huge drop of just stadium seats. So
Okay.
you're like when you're on the floor, like the basketball court, you're
Yeah.
looking up to get out of the arena.
Oh, okay.
Like that's the only way is to climb back out.
Okay.
And Nick, we get in there and Nick's like, dude, I'm gonna call Reid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit, dude, that'd be dope.
Yeah.
So Nick either calls him or texts Reid, and Reid's like, dude, do you see me, guys? Like I'm down here, I'm waving my hand. Well, it's fucking Iowa versus Penn State. So
Yeah.
it's packed to the brim, dude.
Oh yeah.
And like Nick, we're sitting at the top of Carver Hawkeye, and like Reid's like, dude, I'm down here, and he's waving his hand, and Nick's go, oh, dude, he's down there. We're just like, oh, he's probably sitting in like a couple rows back from the actual mat, dude. Reid waves us down. We go down, dude. We're on like the first like row of seats from the mat, dude.
Oh.
And it's all like Hawkeye players. And you
Dang.
can't pay like those seats are super expensive. You got to pay for them.
Oh.
I don't know how we snuck, but we had two seats right next. Like all three of us were sitting next to each other watching the match.
That's crazy.
I remember getting there. We got there super early. That was
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah,
We just went down.
I'll take one of those too, dude.
Went down on the floor.
Yeah. But it was like I was telling him like Nick and I got like nosebleed seats up in Carver, and he called you or texted you. I can't remember what it was, and we ended up way down there.
To this day, dude, I've seen us pop up on when Iowa Wrestling does like their preseason like promo videos and stuff. They'll play old highlights of like the Iowa Penn State duels.
Yeah.
And you can see us like in the
Really?
background.
No.
I haven't
right
seen
there,
that.
dude.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
sick.
Yeah.
We're like Cale Sanderson could have heard us chirping him.
Yeah.
dude,
Oh
like,
yeah,
from
we
where
were right
sitting.
behind him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Coolest, one of the coolest things. That's why what I was saying is like if I would have went to Iowa, I would have like just to see. I would have just picked the lock, dude,
Yeah,
and just
yeah.
opened the door and
Yeah.
see. Did you have any? Were you in class with any of the wrestlers at all?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Are they
a lot of
are
those
they,
guys?
Are they psycho?
No. They work really hard.
Okay,
But
like a Tony Ramos at the time, I would not want to sit next to. In
some
class.
of them are. I think you have to have a screw loose a little bit to wrestle at
Yeah.
that level and
Yeah,
to
you
wrestle
do.
for the brands
Yeah.
and to wrestle at Iowa. Just the style that they wrestle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But they're normal dudes
Yeah.
for the most part.
yeah.
Yeah. for
Shout out
the
to
most part.
shout out to the Hawks wrestling program. They just added the women's wrestling
Yeah.
program, which is I think is
Oh
booming.
really?
there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
They also just added the women's wrestling to the Iowa State like tournament. I think they have their own tournament now, if I remember right.
In high school.
Yeah, in high school. So now they have their own like division of women's wrestling.
It's on the come up in at the college level. My dad is coaching wrestling right now and coaches Division I men's and women's.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah.
Where's he coaching at?
Presbyterian College. They're a small school in North Carolina.
Is it like D1 AA?
They're D1.
Oh,
They-
just full D1.
Yeah,
Just a
yeah.
smaller school, private school.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Small
Gotcha.
school. Small like Christian school.
Yeah.
But yeah. And it's kind of a hedge against having a women's wrestling team kind of saves the men's wrestling team. Because
Oh, I'm sure.
If the men's wrestling team in most schools is not producing any money, and but having a women's, they can't just get rid of the men's because you got to balance it out with both sports and stuff like
Yeah.
Title IX.
Yeah. Yep.
So more and more schools are adding women's wrestling.
Yeah. That's dope, dude.
is.
Before I got us off on that fucking tangent, which was a good one. All right. So the coach, you have the meeting with the coach, right? He goes, we'll honor your scholarship if you want to go wrestle.
Yeah.
At that point, you're like, I'm behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
Are you a
what-
junior? Sorry, I wanted to like.
Oh yeah. Are you a junior at that time?
I had just finished my redshirt sophomore year, so I had 2 years of athletic eligibility left.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe we before we continue, we break that down quick.
The red shirt thing.
The whole medical red shirt, gray
Yeah.
shirt. Can you break that down quick? before we
Yeah,
continue?
I have no idea.
I'm sure some people won't. Understand
Basically, every college athlete, you're awarded one redshirt year. You can use it any time in your career. Most of the time, it's your first year on campus to kind of help with the transition from high school to college. And it's just a year for you to integrate into the program, really.
Okay.
Just really
to
understand it.
practice, learn the playbook, like get in the rhythm, figure out school and sports, balancing that.
Okay.
That's how most people use it. if you get a severe enough injury and you haven't played enough of that year, you can be eligible to apply for a medical red shirt. And works the same way. It's a year of like free eligibility you can use later on, basically.
Yep.
Okay.
Gray shirting is kind of weird, and
Yeah,
I
what
don't
is that?
totally understand that.
Is
I
it-
think it's when like you start in the spring semester. We had one kid do it. John Kenny was a gray shirt, but it's like because you're capped on how many scholarships you can give out.
Yep.
And it's when like you have to wait for somebody to graduate in the winter to free up another scholarship for the next spring. So you can come on campus in the winter and take classes, but you're not part of the team yet.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
And then you start and you're on full scholarship
That
in the spring.
spring.
I think that's
Something
how
like
a gray
that.
shirt works.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Okay.
Then after that,
But dude, and then nowadays they got COVID years and stuff too.
Bro, there's a
did you
guy-
did you see the kid at Oregon
Like
who's in
9 years?
his 9th year of eligibility?
he's 30.
What?
Is he
It's
30?
insane.
Yeah, I think he's 30
If
years old.
If he's in his 9th year of eligibility,
He's got to be 30, dude.
that's insane.
Yeah.
What?
Dude, there's NFL football players that won a Super Bowl at the age of 30, and he's still playing college
Yeah.
football, bro.
That's crazy.
It's insane.
Imagine if you
unheard of.
imagine if you take your redshirt year.
Yeah.
That's one free year. Say you get hurt. That's a medical. COVID gives you an extra year. What? But how has he had that?
He had
many?
multiple medicals.
Oh, okay. So
He
you
had
can, you
2
can
or 3
apply for
medical red
multiple
shirts.
medicals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't there like
Wow.
a and I don't know if he plays anymore. There was an Iowa basketball player that had like 6 or 7 years.
Oh yeah. What was his name?
he was like
he was there for like
coach's
6
son
years
or something, wasn't he?
There was one recently.
Yeah. I remember
Last
that.
follow basketball.
Last basketball season.
Yeah.
He was
And
there
it
for like
a
6 years.
Yeah.
I can't remember
forgot
what it
his
was.
name,
They were
but-
calling him like grandpa or something when he was playing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's wild, dude.
But
Crazy.
you technically only get like 4 years of. Say you just
Yeah.
come in and start, you get 1, 2, 3,
4
4
years
like,
of
to start.
eligibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
But
So I still got 4 years.
all the
Bro, I
rest
still
are-
got 4 years.
It's not too late, man.
It's not too late. We're starting right now, dude. All right, so all right, he discusses what you need to do, right?
Yeah.
Gives you the options, I guess. Transfer or go wrestle.
And one more. And so the last option is the one I ended up taking. He said I wasn't ready to give up on the team I'd spent 3 years with.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how can I still be a part of this team? And he said, at the time, the kid whose podcast I went on,
Yeah.
Tyler Kluver, Tyler had just finished his first year as a full-time starter at long snapper at Iowa. Tyler is like 5'10", like 185 pounds, like not the most imposing, doesn't look like a Division I football player, but could snap the shit out of a ball, dude. Like was
Yeah.
a damn good long snapper. And but in his first year as a starter, he had a couple of shaky snaps and like and so basically they were like, he's not solidified as a starter in this program yet. It's open competition. We know you long snapped in high school. If you want to try and compete for that spot, you got it.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I'm like, all right, let's do it. And I attacked it the same way I did everything else. I'm like, I lost 50 pounds in like 2 months, and to slim down and be able to cover down on punts and stuff and go try and make tackles downfield. And I was driving back and forth to Chicago, working with like a snapping guru coach in Chicago.
So you're like full-fledged into
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Dope.
This is my
Deep.
shot.
There was this kid, Casey Kreider, who snaps for the Giants now. Giants? Yeah, he's with the Giants. Casey snapped at Iowa, and Casey was back for the offseason, and I was just hammered, like blowing his phone up all the time, like, hey, can we get some snaps in today? Just pouring myself into trying to be a long snapper at Iowa. And it all boiled down to one day in the summer. No warning. The special teams coach was like, all right, yeah, Reid, like, we want to see like 10 long snaps and 10 short snaps today.
I haven't even warmed up yet, dude.
It was no warning. It was me, Kluver, and there was another walk-on snapper there at the time. And he's like, all right, we're going to take 2 of you guys to camp. Let's see what you got. And whether, I don't know, the pressure of the situation or just like not my day, whatever, I snapped okay, but not great. Kluver was lights out. The other kid was pretty good. And they sent camp invites out the following week, and I didn't get one. And being a scholarship guy, not going to camp, that's all you need to know, dude. That's the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
And it was me and one other kid who were on scholarship and didn't get invited to camp. So I'm like, all right, there's no more room for me here in this program.
You mean like camp to go get ready for the season?
Yeah. Fall, your preseason fall camp. Yeah.
So how, like, if you don't get the invite, what are you supposed to do?
If you don't get the invite, it's like, that's it, man.
You're just going to go work out?
It's like you can, you can work out on your own for those few weeks, and then you'll still be on the team, and then you'll just spend the whole year on scout team. But they bring to camp the guys who they either want to really develop or are going to play that year.
Yeah.
You know, so knowing I wasn't in either of those two categories, I was like, well, that's it for me.
Damn.
Wow.
Dude.
So I never wanted to take like the easy way out, you know. But at that point, it was like I've done everything I can.
It wasn't for a lack of like try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I busted my balls. I changed positions. I did everything you asked of me the whole time I was here, and it just wasn't going to happen. And chalk that up to an unfavorable coaching change, or chalk that up to just, you know, not coming from a big high school, maybe didn't prepare me the best. Whatever it might be, man.
Yeah.
Just wasn't going to happen at Iowa.
Damn.
So
from there, you're like, okay, now what do I actually do?
So from there, I'm like back to the drawing board. I have 2 years eligibility left. I want to compete. I want to compete at a high level. Like, what can I do? And I went and asked for my transfer from Kirk Ferentz, and they gave it to me, and just started like back on the recruiting trail, trying to put my name out there.
How was that? How was the recruiting trail now, already being at a D1 school, now transferring? Was it easier, do you think?
Way better than the first time around. Because I had 3 years of Iowa offensive line experience under my belt, which is just invaluable.
Yep.
And people actually knew who I was, knew the program I was coming from. So that snapping coach I'd worked with, he played for Jerry Kill at Northern Illinois, and Jerry Kill has a huge network in college football, has been in college football for multiple decades. Started putting my name out there, and I started getting a ton of offers. And the thing is, at the time, if I were to transfer D1 FBS to D1 FBS, I'd have to sit a year. So I'd only have 1 year left to play. And I wanted to play as much as I could, but I still wanted to play at a high level, so I was looking at D1 AA.
Yep.
And took visits to a couple of D1 AA schools. We went to Illinois State, Tennessee Martin, and it was on the way down to Tennessee Martin that we stopped in at Southern Illinois. And
Tennessee Martin, where is that? Like, I know it's in Tennessee, obviously, but
I think it's
is it like north of Nashville area?
Honestly, I have no freaking idea.
Go Vols! I don't know.
I have no freaking idea. It was in the middle of nowhere, dude. That was their pitch on that trip. They were like, "Hey, listen, there are no distractions here." That was their pitch. They were like, "We don't have a big, fun college town or anything, but here you can solely focus on football."
Get you to the league.
And I was like, "That's the pitch," but I don't know. And they played a couple of SEC schools, and they're like, "You can get on tape against like big time schools here," and I don't know.
They're just trying to sell it.
Yeah.
So you stop at SIU.
So it was just by chance, man, on the way down there. The SIU offensive line coach at the time, Bill O'Boyle, was the first coach to reach out to me when I put my name in the transfer portal. And but I didn't want to play back. Just like you said earlier, like growing up in Illinois, there's no schools in Illinois where you look at and you're like, that's a good athletic school. Like, that's a place I want to go and play sports. Illinois is nothing special. Northwestern is nothing special. And Southern Illinois, I just thought of as like a party school from everything I'd heard about it.
Yeah, that's what we know in our town. Yeah.
So I'm like, I didn't know them for football. I didn't want to go there.
Western too. Western is just known as
Western,
like a party school.
Same way.
No football.
Yeah. Illinois State, kind of same way. Like, I don't know. So I wasn't excited about Southern Illinois, but this O-line coach was the first guy to reach out to me, and it was on the way. So I'm like, all right, we'll stop in. And glad I did, because met the O-line coach, and he is a living legend, dude.
Really?
This guy, to come full circle, Deion Sanders just hired him as the offensive line coach at Colorado.
Hey, let's go Buffs.
Whoa. Yeah.
Let's go Buffs.
Big time, dude. So he's right there at the most exciting school in college football right now. He's the best coach I've ever played for.
Yeah.
In really any sport at any point in my life. Best coach I ever played for.
Yeah.
I love this guy. I'd run through a brick wall for him.
Damn.
And we just clicked, man. And I knew after 3 years at Iowa, like the most important factor to getting on the field is your relationship with that position coach. And I never really had that with Brian because he didn't recruit me.
Yeah, for sure.
And Boyle, I loved the guy. He was super old school, super old school, kind of like Coach Miller.
Yeah.
And he's like, all these coaches, some of the other trips that I'd taken when I went to transfer, they were just telling me everything I wanted to hear. They're like, we got a home for you here. You'll come in, you'll start, you'll be our guy, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I was mature enough after 3 years in a Big Ten program, like to see through the smoke there.
Just a bunch of hoopla.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, anything can happen. I know this game, man. Like, and O'Boyle was the only one who was honest with me. He's like, I can't guarantee anything here, but we'll give you an opportunity and it's up to you to make the most of it. And to this day, I think I love the guy so much because they really took a chance on me. Because at the time, I was a 250-pound long snapper. I wasn't an offensive lineman build anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
They didn't know quite what to do with me, but O'Boyle was like, I know you probably want to get back on the offensive line. We need a guy at left tackle. And, if you work hard enough and like you build yourself back up, like that could be an opportunity for you. And so long story short, I signed with Southern Illinois. And it wasn't until I saw action in my first college game there against Indiana.
Were you starting?
No.
No, you weren't starting?
Nope. I was the number 2 left guard, and the starter went down, and I got in that game. So
Wow.
It kind of a blessing in disguise. It kind of all came full circle that way to play. My first college action was against a Big Ten school.
Yeah.
Which was just crazy kind of how it all worked out.
Yeah.
But then I went back. That guy got healthy. I went back to being a backup, and I didn't earn the starting spot until the 5th week of the season. So O'Boyle was true to his word. He's like, and I respect him for it, man, because it's like you don't want a transfer to just come in and just get a spot. It slights all the guys who were there and putting the time in, and I empathize with those guys because that was me.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but earned the spot outright like week 5 and started every game the rest of my career.
That's so dope, dude.
It worked out, man. And then my senior year, they voted me a team captain, and that was really, I was never all conference or anything like that at Southern Illinois, but being named a captain meant more to me than anything.
Oh, for sure.
I'd only been on campus there a year, and they saw that I was just so ready to pour myself into that program, and I think that's why, they voted for me.
I think it's so dope to hear, like, bro, you didn't even get a damn scout team award.
Yeah.
Senior year at a Division I school.
Yeah.
It might be D1 AA. It doesn't matter. It's all D1. To be named the captain of the team is nuts, dude. Like,
yeah, man.
that it just shows you, like, sometimes people end up in places and it's just not the right fit. And when they find the fit,
100%,
it works, dude.
100%.
It works completely.
And you
dude.
can't force that fit.
No,
'cause
bro.
It's just not meant
as
to
long
be.
as someone's determined to do what they want to do and it's the right fit, dude, it's like a freaking marriage.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It just works, bro.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When you got there, could you see like the level of play like different?
So, yeah, I talked about this on the other podcast too. The level of play, the talent level is not that much different, believe it or not.
Yeah.
The year that I transferred to Southern Illinois, North Dakota State was in that conference I transferred into, the Missouri Valley Football Conference, Division I AA. North Dakota State, that year that I transferred, beat Iowa.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. I watched that game.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then that year, we played North Dakota State. We lost to them 35-29, and we finished that season as a 3-8 team. Okay. So we were not a good team in our conference, but we played down to one score this team that beat Iowa.
Yeah. And they have multiple national titles.
Yeah, North Dakota State's a cut above, dude.
Yeah.
But that year, like, Illinois State was also in that conference, and that year Illinois State beat, I think, Northwestern.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
And then Western Illinois beat Northern Illinois. So in my conference that I transferred into, the first year I'm in it, 3 or 4 different D1 AA schools all beat D1 FBS schools. So it's a damn good conference.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Carson Wentz, Trey Lance, Easton Stick, Jeremy Chin for the Panthers. He played at Southern Illinois. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of talent that plays at the league that come out of Missouri Valley. Yeah. So the level of play was not all that much different from my experience. What was different and what I loved about Southern Illinois, man, I wouldn't trade my 2 years there for anything. It was at Iowa, it was there was definitely a team aspect, but a lot of guys were really focused on like Iowa's going to be my stepping stone to the league.
Individual stuff.
Rightfully so. It's
for
like,
sure.
You're playing in the Big Ten. Your starter, like I said, like 90% of these Iowa guys go and get in NFL camps. At Southern Illinois, there was still the opportunity for that, but the focus, like it was much less. So there was so much more focus on like the team we had.
Just play football.
It was just like all that mattered was those Saturdays, dude, and no one was looking forward to like the next step.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
So it felt like much more like a high school football locker room. Like everybody was just out for each other, and we just wanted to play together and win games.
Hell yeah.
That was it, dude. So I loved playing there so much more. It was just so much more rewarding, man. Like the team aspect of it.
Yeah.
So
that's dope. How
worked
was
out,
it?
man.
How was it trying to adjust to like their offense and their playbook? Like, I feel like at the University of Iowa, it's like go, 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 go. You have a timeline. You got to learn all this shit really fast. Whereas now you're a transfer. It's obviously a different conference. A little bit of a not level, but a little like a change, right?
Mm-hmm.
How was it adjusting to like their playbook and like trying to learn it? Is it I don't want to say it's similar to Iowa, but like do some things transfer like knowledge wise over there?
Yeah, I definitely benefited from having 3 years at a Big Ten school already. But I kind of like took my own advice I was talking about earlier, and as soon as I got there, I'm like, okay, you're a starter. Like, I need to learn as much as I can from you guys.
Oh, for sure.
I sought out the guys who were doing everything right already, and I'm like, help me get up to speed. Like, what do you need me to do?
Yeah.
And like some guys that come to mind, like Ethan Worth, Matt Griffith, Garrett Clark, like really Jake Notario, really, really, really good guys at Southern Illinois that, again, like they were out for the best interest of the team. They weren't out to do anything like individually and accomplish that much. They were like, we just want to like win games on Saturdays.
Yeah,
the best
sure.
way to do that is to get this guy up to speed. And they were super, swallowed their pride and had some humility and taught me the playbook right away and just kind of helped kind of flatten that learning curve. So
that's dope, dude.
Got me up to speed.
That's what I'm saying, bro. That once you hit the place you're supposed to be at, it's like everything just clicks, dude.
Yeah.
Falls into place.
Falls into place. Going into the last and final season, how are you feeling going into camp?
My senior year at Southern Illinois.
Yeah.
We were pretty juiced up. So between my junior and senior year, our whole coaching staff got fired. So,
Oh
Oh my God.
yeah.
You're like, not again, dude.
So just a completely, it was like, I was used to the adversity at that point, man. I'm like, all right,
This is normal.
Here we
new
go.
start, man. So O'Boyle, the guy that I freaking loved, he got canned, went to South Dakota, was really close with a strength coach there. This guy, Cleet McLeod, he got canned, went to South Dakota. So it was totally new start. The only guy they kept, I think, was this guy, Nick Hill. They named Nick Hill the head coach. He was the quarterbacks coach and offensive coordinator the year before. My junior year, senior year, he's the head coach. So there was some continuity, but not much. Everybody else was new offensive line coach, I think Coach Hill still called the plays on offense, but we were like, I don't know, going into my senior year, all of us seniors kind of took it as like, hey, we're his first class. Like, let's make an impact. Let's set the tone for all the future generations of like Coach Hill recruits to come.
For sure.
And so that was kind of our mission, is like we want to send this program out the right way for years to come for Coach Hill. And we won one more game than we did the year before, so a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
We went from like 3-8 to 4-7, so a step in the right direction. But it was tough, man. We between my junior and senior year, we lost like 10 one-score games or something crazy.
You're
like
right
that.
there,
man,
right
yeah.
at the threshold.
Every single week, it still like haunts my dad. He's like, God, if one play would have gone your guys' way, like, but. Long story short, Southern Illinois is Coach Hill was the right guy for the job, and they've had a lot of success. Like since I graduated, they've made the playoffs. Like FCS has a bigger playoff and stuff, but they've made the playoff like 4 of the last 5 years or something like that. So
that's nuts, dude.
they're rolling now.
Yeah.
I always wondered that too. Like if it was all just one and it was implemented like as like a just like a national tournament, dude. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many schools that it would be never ending. We would have the national tournament would be ending like in the summer if that was the case. Because FBS and what's the other one? FCS.
Yeah.
If they combined, dude, we would have football all the way into the summer.
Oh yeah.
The Natty would
wouldn't
be
be
in the
mad.
summer. No, I mean I would love it, but
Yeah.
that's crazy, bro. I'm glad that worked out though, and you got some really good friends out of the deal.
Yeah.
That you still talk
Yeah,
to this day.
100%. Some of my best friends, man. Because like I said, the focus was more like a high school locker room. Like there was less selfish focus.
Yeah.
Made some really really good friends. Just a lot of good like Midwestern people, man.
Yeah.
And some of my best friends to this day.
I want to touch on this subject because I thought it was really cool, and I know other schools do this. Iowa State does it. Probably Iowa does it too, right? You always see these team members go into like the hospitals and like meeting up with like patients and stuff, right? But I noticed that you were like paired up with like a family at one point, right? Maybe
At Southern Illinois?
yeah, at Southern Illinois. That you had to you wore a jersey or they
Oh yeah.
you know what
yes,
I'm saying?
Dude. Yeah.
I might be saying it wrong.
No,
but
man.
You can
I'm
correct
glad
me.
you brought this up because today is actually a really important day. So yeah, Iowa does this game, or not Iowa. Southern Illinois does this game every year. It's called the Blackout Cancer Game, where people who either like survivors of cancer or their families were afflicted by cancer in whatever way, they bid. They do like a bid for different players' jerseys, and they can get their name put on the back, whether the name of somebody who passed away from cancer, someone who beat it, someone affected by cancer, whatever. So this family bid on mine, and then you meet them all after the game, which is the coolest
That's
part.
dope, dude.
That's so cool.
So
And they don't even know who you are.
They bid on mine, and I just have this name Castile on the back of my jersey. And it's pretty special, man. And so after the game, I meet them they didn't know me. They just, the number, I can't remember the significance of the number, but I was number 76, and I can't remember. That might have been like their high school graduation year or something. I don't know. But
there was a tie there for sure.
yeah, but they picked my jersey. We met them after the game, and just the salt of the earth, like Midwestern people. This guy Rick had cancer and was at the time I met him. He was in remission. He had beat it at the time, and his wife Connie is an absolute saint, and I freaking love those people. But we just met him after the game, and we were just talking, and they're just good people and everything. And And my mom, the way that she is, she's like, let's exchange contact information. Let's
Shout
stay
out
in
to
touch.
Jan.
Yeah. Yeah. So we stayed in touch with them, and they kind of became like another set of grandparents for me.
That's dope.
Because my grandparents are all spread out, and they were right there in Central Illinois, and they came to a couple other Saluki games that year, and the following year they came to another SIU game and everything, and we had we just started to form like a genuine friendship, dude.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
the Castiles were, in their late 60s, but we talked on the phone like every couple of weeks. Like anytime I was driving back up to Byron or something, had a long drive, I'd call them, they'd call me. They always wanted to know like team news and stuff like that,
Yeah, what are you
how I
doing?
was doing.
Yeah.
They were like just caring, like grandparent like people.
Yeah, yeah.
And I like talking to them too, because it was just like kind of reset me,
Oh, for sure.
just salt of the earth people.
For sure.
And what would it have been? 3 or 4 years ago today, Rick passed away, and I drove out to see him a week before he died, man.
Wow.
I was with Hannah at the time. We were at Fort Campbell, and Carrie is Rick and Connie's daughter, and she called like a week before. So Rick had like a year after we'd been friends or something. Rick's cancer came back, and they were always optimistic. They were like, "Yeah, he beat it once before; he'll beat it again."
Oh, for sure. You have to be.
And they just kept kind of finding more and more like popping up in different parts of his body and everything, and it wasn't trending the right way, And Carrie called us one day and said that, like there wasn't much time left, know.
For sure.
And we made the drive from Fort Campbell. It was like a 5 or 6 hour drive, and but it meant the world to them. And Rick was was just my biggest fan, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and yeah, he had after the game, they keep the jersey that they bid for and stuff. So he had the jersey and everything, and we just hung out, and he was like, you know, not in good shape. He was just kind of in his chair and just had a hard time talking. And
Oh yeah.
and but man, like it's like burned into my brain, man. I love that guy, and
The whole family.
Yeah, I was back in Ankeny, and I remember getting the text from Carrie saying like, "Hey, Dad passed away this morning." Blah blah blah. But yeah, man, just love the Castiles. That was something really special that we did at Southern Illinois. I went to the funeral, and in the eulogy, like they said, they called me their honorary grandson and
Damn,
everything.
that's dope.
Wow.
It was awesome, man. Just a genuine friendship
Yeah,
that
for
came
sure.
that
Oh,
came
yeah.
from that, man.
sure.
Like not just like a publicity stunt or just like a promotional thing. It was like
They cared.
It's a
people
lifelong.
that I grew to love. Connie just sent Hannah a birthday card. Like, she's got no link to Hannah other than me, and now she's sending Hannah like a birthday card.
Yeah,
Like
step aside, Reid.
Yeah.
she's like another grandma for me, you know.
That's
That's so
dope.
cool.
Bro. That's what I wanted to bring that up because I thought that was super cool.
Yeah,
That is.
You
it's
know?
the best, man. One of the best things that came out of Southern Illinois was meeting them, and that it's just incredible that whole blackout cancer deal that they do. But
Yeah.
I got to call Connie later today because today's the day that Rick passed away.
Oh yeah.
So
We got to do that. You got to do that.
I
Dude.
know, man. Got to give her a call.
Let's transition a little bit to some of the people. Actually, your roommates at Iowa.
At Iowa. Yeah.
Dude, I feel like when that Penn State game, we went over to the house, bro. And I walk in, dude, and there's just this big burly bearded guy chilling on the couch. And I go, "What's up, bro? I'm Jesse." And he goes, "What's up, man?" Oh shoot, what was his name?
All my roommates were big burly bearded.
I
guys
know,
at
but
one point.
this he was
You're probably talking about Drew.
Drew.
Yeah.
He goes, "Yo, my name's Drew."
Yeah.
I didn't know who Drew was until after the fact, dude.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
please talk to us about like the roommates that you had, you know, and the links between like the music industry and like all that stuff, the stuff you got to experience
yeah.
with Thomas Rhett and all that
Oh,
kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I always thought that was cool.
What?
Yeah, dude. It's cool stuff, man.
Do you want to start with Drew or you want to start with CJ
No,
Beathard and the music connection?
Let's do Drew because that was the first person, and he probably doesn't know me from a can of paint, but I always remember his big burly ass chilling on the couch.
Drew's a savage, man. Drew he played 8-man football in Giltner, Nebraska, growing up in a town of like 200 people.
Oh.
But was just a freak. And you know, and Reese Morgan, the guy who recruited me, is known for just finding these freaks on the middle of nowhere. Like all these future NFL draft picks, Coach Morgan went and found them when they were like 2-star farm kids, like that didn't do anything yet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so he recruited Drew. Drew came in. He ended up being a second team All Big Ten defensive end. Going into his senior year, he was probably the best D end in the country. He was leading the Big Ten in sacks and tackles for loss, and had an injury in one game, tore up like everything in his elbow.
Completely. I remember that. Yeah.
Like dislocated, tore cartilage and stuff. And being like the tough farm kid that he is, they put a brace on it, and he came back the next week and was going to play in that game, and then tore his ACL like halfway through that game. So and it was like I don't know, week 5 or 6 in the season, and he applied for a medical red shirt.
Dude, this was a big deal on ESPN.
It was a big deal.
It was a big deal.
Because Drew was like, if Drew would have left Iowa after his junior year,
He would have went to the NFL.
he would have been probably a mid-round draft pick.
Wow.
When he came back for his senior year, at the rate he was going, people were talking about him being like a first or second round draft pick.
Yeah,
One of the
it was
first like
huge.
defensive linemen off the board.
Yeah, it was huge.
And but he had this season-ending injury, and applied for a red shirt, and it wasn't until like 2 weeks before the draft that they came back with his decision that it was denied.
Yeah. Why though?
I don't know, because it had to do with
Did he just play too much?
It's because we were like 6 games into the year, and it was like over. There's some rule, like once you're over 30% of the season, then that counts as a full season.
That's so dumb.
So his red shirt didn't get approved, and so he's got like 2 weeks to try and scramble and get prepared for the draft, and he's still kind of coming off of this ACL injury. And it ended up that he didn't sign anywhere and never got a chance in the league. But
Damn.
Dang.
He would have
But
tore it up, bro.
he was so good.
Did he ever?
He was so good.
Do you think it ever go through Drew's mind that, like, all right, they denied it. I can get healthy. I can go train somewhere, and I can try to take a stab at the NFL.
I think he did, man. Drew and I, we kind of grew out of touch like after college, but I think he did. I think he got healthy and he went and worked out for like the Colts. But I think at that point they had already signed some D linemen that year, and they were nervous about the injury, whatever it might be.
for sure.
He just didn't stick.
Did before we go into the other roommates, did you ever try a stint at the NFL?
I tried, man, but it
Like a workout or something?
Yeah, so after my last season at Southern Illinois, I followed that strength coach I had my junior year out to Nebraska. He was the associate head strength coach at Nebraska.
That's on the list. We're about to dive into this.
Yeah.
About to dive into Nebraska.
You want me to talk about it?
Yeah, let's do it.
So I finished my last year at Southern Illinois and followed the strength coach I had there, Cleet McLeod, out to Nebraska, where he was the associate head strength coach out there. Kind of my plan A and plan B at the time, both kind of put me in Nebraska. Plan A, I wanted to keep playing football for as long as I could.
Oh.
And out there I could train with Cleet for my pro day, and then in theory go to Nebraska's pro day, where they have like all 32 scouts come in and watch those players. It would give me the most exposure to try and play at the next level.
For sure.
And then plan B was like, if I don't end up playing pro football, I want to be a strength coach, because I had a really good experience with Coach Doyle at Iowa, and then with Cleet at Southern Illinois, and thought I wanted to be a college strength coach and just spend time in the weight room coaching up football players, man. I thought that'd be a pretty sweet gig.
For sure.
So went to Nebraska and interned for Cleet while I was there.
Was it a paid intern?
No.
Was this when you were working at the hotel?
Yeah. So I was working at the hotel on the side, Hilton Garden Inn in Lincoln, Nebraska, valeting cars. But it was fun, man. It was just learning the ropes of everything that goes into programming an off-season lifting program for like a Division I football team. Learning from Cleet, learning from some other really, really smart dudes out there. He had a great staff with him. Mark Phillip, who played at SIU, was the other head strength coach there. Really good staff. Learned a lot from them. Spent a lot of time with like coaching up the Nebraska guys and training with Nebraska's whole senior class for their pro days. So guys like Nate Gary is probably the biggest name from that class, who's a safety. I'm sure he's still with the team somewhere.
Yeah.
Couple of offensive linemen, but a couple of really good dudes. Corey Whitaker, Sam Hahn, Dylan Utter, like the three offensive linemen there that I spent the most time training with. And by the end of that spring, I was in the best shape of my life, like 305 pounds, but still fast, still nimble, dude. Still kind of a powerhouse.
305, dude.
Whoa. And was ready to go, like turn some heads. All my numbers in all our testing that we'd done internally were all pretty good, and I was ready to go make an impact at the pro day and hopefully get someone's attention and get into a camp. And Nebraska, much like Iowa, like 90% of these dudes who go to the pro day get into a camp. So I'm like, that was my plan. Mm-hmm. And it was literally like 24 hours before Nebraska's pro day, Cleet was like, hey man, I got some news. It's not good. There's a rule to go to this pro day. You either have to have gone to school here or gone to a school within like 100-mile radius or something.
Damn.
Or like another school in Nebraska. So I can't remember what the rule was.
Within the state or something. Yeah.
But whatever it was, I didn't qualify or have to have lived in Lincoln for more than 60 days, and I was at like 52 days or something.
Oh, adversity.
So whatever reason, I didn't qualify, so I couldn't go to their pro day, and so the only pro day I could go to was back at Southern Illinois. And at Southern Illinois at the time, we had some bad years in a row, like hadn't had a lot of NFL guys in the last 5 or 6 years. So we only had 2 scouts come to our pro day. It was like the Bears and the Dolphins. And they were both coming really just to look at this linebacker who played for us, who ended up signing with the Dolphins, Chase Allen. But I'm like, hey, maybe I'll turn some heads here. And I ended up, it went well with them. The Bears guy had some interest in me. He said I was one of their higher small school prospects, and the Dolphins guy, not a lot of interest. Through word of mouth, like a Cardinals scout reached out to me at one point. My dad still knew somebody who worked for the Patriots who had reached out at one point, but the draft came and went. I wasn't expecting to be a draft pick. And then the next 2 or 3 days after, when they signed all the free agents, that came and went. So I'm like, all right, we tried. I had an agent and everything, and he was putting my name out there, but I think I was playing in the wrong position in college. Honestly, if I wanted to play in the NFL, I was a little too small to be a guard in the NFL. I was the right size to be a center, but I'd played all guard in college and hadn't played any center. Played 2 games at center, so just didn't have enough film. So no one really wanted to take a gamble on me there.
Yeah,
but
what if you would have went to become like a tight end? You got them hands, dude. Sometimes
it's everyone now. I don't know about that. But all in the Army, all these guys are like, oh, you played college football? Would you play tight end? Because my build now.
Yeah.
Looking at you now, I would say that.
Yeah, dude, we'll have to show you a picture.
I'm like, if only you knew how slow and uncoordinated. But yeah, so it just didn't end up working out. I could have gone and played in Germany and stuff like that, but they didn't pay shit over there.
Did you think you thought about that? You thought about going over there?
I thought about it just for the life experience. Just for the life experience, man. Go play. Yeah. I knew a couple kids at Iowa who went and played in Japan and
dude, I heard that's booming.
And you're a living legend over there. When
they
see a big white American guy, you're like a god. You're an anomaly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it's a couple guys went overseas and really loved the experience, but they don't take care of you at all if you get hurt. They just don't have the money to pay for an ACL reconstruction if something like that were to happen. So
yeah.
And you only get paid basically enough to live. You don't make buku bucks over there like you would in the league. So
yeah,
I ended up passing on that, and I was kind of burnt out of the strength coaching thing. It just wasn't all that I thought it would be. It got to be really cyclic and really repetitive, going into the same weight room every day, and you don't really form relationships with the players like you do as a position coach. If I were an offensive line coach and I spent 8 hours a day with this group of 20 guys versus as an offensive line coach, you get an hour a day with 100 different guys. You just don't form those deep relationships as much.
For sure.
So, so I'm like, shit, man. Well, that's my plan A and plan B out the door. So I
immediately,
moved back to Byron, and I'm like, we got to figure out a new plan from here. And
so it's a fresh start going back to Byron.
Yeah,
well, not because you have people there. But
yeah, dude. It's
I did this stuff. Now where's the next chapter?
Right.
It's kind of funny how the world brings you back to a place that you don't want to be.
I knew I didn't want to stay long. I was only going to stay long
go.
enough to springboard what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. You just need a little bit of time, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say this. This is obviously not football related, but this is a very big factor into what you did. You went back. You knew you're not staying here, but I just am here for
I'm
the
here
time.
I'm here for 8 months.
What's
and
my
I'm
next
bouncing
chapter?
back.
That's crazy.
Yeah, dude. But I feel like people that do that know that. They know that okay, I need to go back here for 2, 3, 4 months.
I just need some time
in order to go do what I need to do.
Yeah.
It's like what we were talking about. Once I left Byron the first time to go to Iowa, I'm like, oh, this is all that's out there. There's more out there. So that's when I knew having that other life experience, I knew I couldn't go back to Byron and stay. This is just where I need to be to figure out the next
and that's
step.
not a knock on where we're from, because
not at all.
It's a good place to grow up. It was a bunch of friends there, everything.
Yeah.
But it's dude, once you leave that place, right, where it's all comfortable and everybody kind of caters to you, and it's oh, you're Jesse or you're Reid or whatever the thing is, right?
Yeah.
It's you kind of get used to it, right? And then you go somewhere else where nobody knows you. You kind of have to earn everything that you have, kind of not earn it, but you got to set your own path, right?
Yeah.
And then you hit adversity and you're shit, no, it's not going right. All right, maybe I got to go back for 2 months. All right, I'm here. I know that I'm not supposed to be here. what's next? How do I get there? What's the plan? Who do I need to call? You know, in your scenario, we're gonna get into it here in a little bit. The military, like from the military, dude, it springboards a whole nother thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Like,
yeah.
It sometimes it takes you to go back to those places to be like, this is definitely not because it wasn't good where I was. It's just not where I want to be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you
For
just have to
sure.
go in your mind
Yeah,
and like
dude.
rethink, okay, here's where it started, here's
Yeah.
where it went.
You got to rewire
back.
yourself, dude.
Where
And-
does it go next?
And from the conversation that we had so far, Reid, dude, you've had to rewire yourself multiple times.
multiple times.
Yeah, man. I feel like I feel like my life is in like different chapters, man. Like there was like the Iowa chapter, and then the Southern Illinois chapter, and then the military chapter, and now I'm in Colorado. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm really grateful for that, man. Like I've lived a lot of life in 29 years.
Yeah,
you
dude.
know?
And when we were DMing back and forth, dude, you're like, yeah, I've done some stuff in the last 28, 29
Yeah.
years.
Just-
And it's not an ego boost, but you have,
Yeah.
dude. Like
Yeah.
the normal person doesn't do.
You don't get those experiences.
You don't get those experiences,
No.
dude.
Yeah.
I don't care what Hannah says.
Yeah. No, it just comes down to I think I was thinking about this like last night, like about what we talk about today, and I think it's that obviously I had like awesome parents, and I think the best thing that they gave me was like self-belief. They
We talk about that all the time, dude.
yeah, they made me think I could do anything, you know,
100%.
and it takes a good teacher or a good coach or somebody to put that in you. But once that's in you, it's like, then it's a blessing and a curse. Cause it's like, then you're never really satisfied with
Yeah.
just being where you're at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
And,
Next thing you know, you're in the forest, like trying to like start fire with a stick because your dad told you could do it.
yeah, I mean, I had that self-belief, and that's why I'm like, that's why I was confident leaving Iowa. Cause I'm like, I believe in myself. I know I got it. I know I got what it takes. There's another opportunity out there. This just isn't it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, leave Southern Illinois and kind of fall short of like the NFL goal. And then it's like, okay, I know that this isn't where it ends. Like there's what's next for me.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
having that self-belief put into me at a very like early age. And then I think the other thing is like finding success at a young age too. Like when I won a state title,
Yeah. For sure.
I was
High school.
18. I was 18, but that was far more than like young Reid ever thought I could accomplish.
That's
man.
a big deal.
I was
Already
I was
so
a,
far ahead.
I was a chubby little kid, man. I didn't think I'd ever be like. I didn't ever even thought I'd be a varsity athlete.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
so when I had success and I was like a state champ, I'm like, wow, like it just showed me for the first time, if I apply myself to something and I pour myself into it, this is the result. I'm like, what else can I apply this to?
Yeah. For sure.
And that's it's just stuck with me the rest of my life, man, is I'm like, I don't know. I just,
It's in you, dude. It's
maybe
wired.
I'm a dreamer, man. Maybe I'm too much of an optimist, but I think like the world is my oyster, man. And,
Yeah.
and that self-belief is just in me that I think I could do well at
Anything,
anything
yeah.
that I apply myself to.
Yep. I've had those conversations with my girlfriend Laura, and I'm like, dude, you drop me anywhere. Like, I'm not talking about the forest, right? Because I mean, I could probably survive, bro. But like, I'm just saying, like, you drop me in any city.
Sahara Desert.
Yeah, just say I'm gonna eat some sand, maybe. I don't know. But you drop me in an environment, right, where, say, I don't know, you drop me in the middle of like a city in Nevada. I don't know anybody there, but I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find a way.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you have that, like, you might struggle, you might go through certain things, dude, but like you'll never let yourself like down.
Right.
If no one else
Yeah.
believes in you, you're gonna believe in yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing. Maybe I'm cocky, dude. Maybe I'm an asshole, but yeah, I think the same way you do. I'm like,
Yeah.
give me a job like the job I'm in now, medical device sales. Like before I started this job, I didn't know anything about the digestive tract and enteral feeding and everything. But it's like, I believe in myself, and I believe I have the ability to learn. You know, and I apply myself to anything, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way I see things.
What were you gonna say, Gary?
I talk about this a lot, man. Delusional optimist. I feel like that's what we all are. in
Delusional
this.
optimist.
Yes, it sounds kind of bad, but like it doesn't matter what it is. You're just optimistic about it. You're kind of delusionally out. Like maybe I'm probably not going to be a football player, but like in my head, I feel like if I gave it enough effort and gave it enough try, I feel like I could do that.
Yeah, for sure.
And that just goes with anything. I don't know if my parents gave us that or what that is.
It's got to be,
but
dude. I think we talked about it before. Reid just said it, right?
Yeah.
I think it is your parents, dude. Like, my parents have always been like, yeah, like, you want to try that? Okay, so like, what do we need to do? Do we need to call somebody to like coach you up, or like who do we call to teach you how to do this?
Yeah.
Get you with the right people to like learn something. You know what I'm saying?
I think parents are without a doubt like the best gift that you could have to set you up the right way. But the other thing too, I think is there's enough stories out there of people who have done so much more with so much less.
Which is nuts
That
too.
for me, it's like as soon as I see that something's possible, I'm like, why not me?
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know. You see somebody do like, cool, I was 300 pounds and I ran a marathon.
Yeah, for sure.
But like then I see somebody who was 350 pounds run a 100-mile race. I'm like, huh, okay, so it's possible.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of how I measure things. Like if it's possible, then why can't I do it?
Why can't I do it?
Right.
Yeah,
now,
that's
if
dope.
someone done it, why can't I do it?
That's not average.
You know?
No.
Well, yeah,
That's
but I
not
think,
average.
I don't know. That's just the way I see things.
Yeah,
man.
no, that's dope.
I
Dude.
probably sound like
dig
a huge prick. cocky ass.
I don't care what Hannah says.
I don't know. It's just the way I see it.
Damn, dude. Yeah,
that
that's
makes a
dope.
lot of sense.
That's dope. Let's revert back to the other roommate that you had. CJ was a roommate, right?
He wasn't a roommate.
Oh, I
no,
thought he was a
no.
roommate.
But we came in the same class.
So how was that like relationship together? Like were you
CJ
guys
was a great dude. Yeah.
pretty close?
Yeah. We came in the same class, and being all just dumb, ignorant freshmen, like we just all buddied up together. And CJ, we found out pretty early on, his dad is a legendary country music songwriter. Has written songs he wrote like No Shoes, No Shirt, No Problem, Kenny Chesney, like
Eric Church,
wrote
right?
a bunch for Eric Church. What else did he write? Like, I mean, you name it. Like he's had a hand in all the goats in Nashville.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my gosh.
and so it was a pretty cool friendship to have that freshman year summer. All these country music concerts would come into town or like be in and around Iowa City, and CJ would call his dad and we'd get tickets and we'd go.
Oh, that's
And
sick.
so saw a bunch of concerts that freshman year. Went on Thomas Rhett's tour bus. Hung out with him and Rhett Atkins for a little while.
Dude, how dope with Rhett Atkins, the GOAT?
Oh,
Like,
it was
that was
sweet,
so
man.
sick.
It was so cool. It was
that ain't my
really my
truck.
first experience like bumping into anybody who was like famous.
Yeah,
You know.
Yeah. Were you kind of fangirling? at the
Oh
time?
yeah, 100%.
Bro, let me
By
get a
the end of the
picture.
summer, I think I was a little like cooler in those interactions, but at first, Thomas Rhett was the first one, and we were like,
He
"You're
was
a
small then,
singer?"
too.
Like, just clueless, man.
He was small too. Like
He had just had
I remember I went to
what was his first big song, dude? It was
hands
right
in my
after-
pocket in my hand. Or, what do I do with my hands? Isn't it?
something to do with my
Something to
hands.
do with my
That
hands,
was
yeah.
It was right after that came out, so he was kind of big time at the time. Was just
Yeah,
new
yeah.
on the scene, but we went on his bus, and then afterwards, dude, this was my cool moment. Is he was like, "Hey, do any of you guys chew? Like I'm bumming, like I need a dip." And I whipped out my can so freaking fast, dude.
like,
And I'm like, "Here, Thomas." Yeah. And so he bummed a dip off me, dude.
That's dope,
sick.
dude.
Oh
That
my
was
God.
my all-time coolest moment ever at the time. We were on the way home. I'm like, did you guys see that when he took a dip from like, oh, it was awesome.
Dude, that's so Midwestern.
Shout out
right
to
now.
Thomas Rhett.
If that's not the most Midwest, like,
shit! It's not like, hey, let me get a piece of gum. No, bro. Like, you got some chew?
Yeah.
Let me get a dip. Let me get a dip.
yeah,
Anybody chewing wintergreen right now? I need one.
That's so funny.
that was
dude.
cool. But yeah, then later in the summer we met Justin Moore, and
Dude, he's short, huh?
and he's very short.
He's like 4
what
foot
I've
tall.
heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little person.
and then we met Eric Church and Eric Church's wife. We went on their tour bus afterwards. But
Was
Dude,
it? Was
Eric's
it?
a legend.
Yeah, dude.
he's a legend.
Huge
Oh,
legend.
He's a legend. He's a very cool guy.
Were you? I can't remember. Maybe it wasn't you, but I could swore someone told me or I read it that the guy who wrote Homeboy, was it CJ's dad
Yeah.
who wrote Homeboy?
I think so. It was either CJ's dad or CJ's brother.
Some-
His brother is an artist now too, Tucker.
Tucker. Yeah.
Wait, is that's like Homeboy?
No, I think it was his
Young man?
dad.
that
though.
song is
Oh, okay.
The Homeboy song is
Yeah.
the Eric.
I
Church
can't
song.
remember the story behind Homeboy, but I think
Well, it was
that-
about somebody,
I think
right?
it was about CJ or about Tucker. It was about
one of the
them.
brothers.
That's
A lot of those
crazy.
big famous songs were like inspired by like CJ and his brothers.
This dumb stuff they're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
How was it? How was it?
Pretty cool.
Seeing him have success too. Like
CJ?
Yeah. Like
CJ, I'm a big CJ fan, man.
yeah, he's dope. Bro.
He's just a great dude.
Yeah.
Really, really good dude. Was always a straight shooter. Like we were all dumbasses at one point, but but CJ was just always a really good dude. Good family and everything. And yeah, he's a backup with Jacksonville right now. Yeah.
He had his time
Okay.
at the Niners, dude.
Oh yeah, he started a couple of games with the Niners, won some big games. I mean, he's solidified himself, I think, as one of the better backups in the league. Like, yeah, he's proven he can win
Yeah.
in prime time. So
Yeah.
Wow.
Shout out to CJ. That was
CJ's a good dude,
It
man.
was dope to like know that you knew him and then watch him be pretty successful. I mean,
Yeah.
I never talked to him, but it was dope to have that connection that you had,
Yeah.
with him. That was dope.
yeah, he's a good guy.
It's crazy, all these like connections. I'm just thinking
Dude,
about it right now.
well, you and I think you and I had the conversation. We're like only a few people away
Yeah.
from like big people. You
Yeah,
know what
dude.
I'm saying?
like 3 or 4 people away.
Yeah.
That's insane.
A
to
couple
me.
people. I mean,
Mhm.
sometimes even 2,
Yeah.
And you just don't realize it until like you like, oh, maybe I could talk to this guy that
Yeah.
knows this guy that knows this guy,
Yeah. Well, even in this situation, I would have never met Reid without this whole
Yeah.
with you or
Yeah.
like that's crazy to me.
Yeah, for sure. Let's transition over to the next part of the podcast here, right? So we talked about your whole college career, how you
Yeah.
got there, the adversity that you hit, right?
Yeah.
You graduate college, right? As we just talked about, you go to Nebraska. You can't do the pro day, so you go back to Southern Illinois. Nothing's happening. You decide, I'm not going to go do the overseas stuff. I'm not going to go play football any overseas. So now you're back to the drawing board again.
Yeah.
You're back to Byron.
Yeah.
Right? What's going through your mind there, and where do you go from there?